Hey everyone, I'm Peter from soundadventurer.com, and I love music and I love learning different instruments. I recently spent an entire month learning the bongo drums. I spent an hour every day just learning, focusing, trying to improve my technique on an instrument that, to be honest, I really didn't have much experience with, don't have a lot of knowledge, but I learned a lot in just a short amount of time, and I wanted to pass that knowledge on to you, those who are just picking up the bongo. So this is all about getting started with the bongo drums. All right, so we're going to go over the basic bongo drum anatomy. When you're learning a new instrument, it's helpful to know the different parts of the instrument so that you can, know what people are talking about, and especially with drums, where you hit the instrument makes a big difference in how it sounds. So let's go over the basic anatomy. First, the small drum called the macho, the large drum called the hembra, that's spelled H-E-M-B-R-A, and yes, that means male and female in Spanish. And this top of the drum that I'm hitting, that's called the drum head. And the drum head is stretched over this well-defined circular region called the bearing edge. And the bearing edge, it's an important concept to know that because where you hit the drum makes a big difference in how it sounds. So if I hit it here, it's a very flat, muted tone, and as I go closer to the rim, you get this. That's a tone that you're hearing. It's got some musical tonality going on there. So anyway, the bearing edge is an important concept to know, especially when you're changing heads, not literally changing heads, changing drum heads. Cool. So this black part on this particular bongo drum is the rim of the drum, and in some styles of music, they will call for actually the bongo player to use a stick to strike the rim. And as we go down the bongo drum, these metal hooks, those are tuning lugs, and you can see that there are 4 nuts that are being used to secure and pull down these hooks downward. And so as you tighten these nuts, that is going to stretch the drum head over the bearing edge, which will increase or decrease the pitch depending on if you tighten or loosen the lug nut. So if you tighten it righty-tighty, that is going to tighten the drum head and make the pitch higher. This wooden section, these are not very expensive bongo drums, but this is called the shell, and it can be made out of wood, and depending on what type of wood will tell you how expensive the bongo drums are. I think these are made of like a rubber tree or Siam oak. I'm not exactly sure. I've had these for a very long time. But these can also be made out of plastic or metal, depending on the style of bongo drum. So those are the basic parts of the bongo drum, and so yeah. Now, tuning the bongos is a little bit subjective because everybody has their own personal preference to what sound they're looking for. But a lot of bongoceros prefer their bongo drum heads to be tuned rather tightly, giving more of a crisp, dry sound. So one way to tune your drum heads is to figure out your starting point. These are pretty loose right now, so I'm going to tighten these up. So just flip your drum head over, your drums over, and then go around the drum head and turn a quarter of a turn each time. If you're just starting tuning, like you're not experienced, I would suggest only doing a quarter at a time so you can get used to it and get a feel for how tight your drum heads should be so you don't damage your drum heads. Also, make sure you only use the tuning wrench that came with your drums, or one that fits it exactly, because if you try to use an adjustable wrench, you risk damaging your tuning lugs. So once you have tightened it a quarter turn, turn it over and test it. And I found a trick for testing the tuning of your bongo drum head is that to actually hit it all the way around the drum head. So if you notice, like, it's tighter here than it is over here, and so I can tighten the lug nut on this side that's looser, so I can get the drum head to be tightened evenly across. So this one's also tighter than the rest. That'll help you get an even sound as you're playing, and also to not damage your drum heads by over tightening one tuning lug more than the other. So go all the way around your drum head, both drums, and find the sound that you like. All right, I like the way these bongo drums sound. They work for me, but really the key is for you to listen to other bongo serials, listen to songs with bongos in them, and maybe go on YouTube and find other musicians that are playing the bongos and find the sound that you like and try to tune to match that sound. Within reason, because all bongo drums sound different. Now, before you start playing, I mean, you're almost there, but we're not quite there. The next step is to figure out how to hold the bongos. Now, there's two ways that you can hold the bongos. There are stands that will suspend the bongo drums and keep the bottoms of the bongo drums open. And that's important because if you just play them on your lap like this, it's more of a muted sound. There's definitely a difference. It's subtle, but that's why the other way to play the bongo drums, if you don't happen to have a bongo stand like I don't, such as, you know, if you're like me, is that you put the bongo drums between your knees. And so your knees are hugging under the rim of the bongo drums, and your feet are kind of turned inward so that they can keep the bongos in place. And I'm aware that the camera's probably cutting these off right now, but suffice it to say, that's how you hold the bongo drums. Man, this chair is squeaky. So, you're so close. We're about to start playing the bongo drums, but the next question is, what do you play the bongo drums with? So the bongo drums are first and foremost a hand instrument. Now that doesn't mean you can't use sticks or use any other instrument to play your bongo drums, but just know that there's some trade-offs. Sticks will eventually wear out your drum heads much faster than if you are just using your hands, but they do have a different sound, and that might be something that you're going for. But as you're learning, highly suggest just use your hands to play the bongo drums. So the next question is, how do you play the bongo drums with your hands? There's, you know, our hands have multiple parts. The drum head has different parts. There's actually a lot to cover in this subject, and in fact, I made another video talking all about the different techniques that you can give, all the, you know, the different bongo drum techniques that you can use with your hands. But suffice it to say, for this video, if you're just getting started, we're just going to learn the basic open tone, and it's pretty simple. It is just to strike the bongo drum near the edge, not on the edge, but kind of near the edge, and your fingers, you're wanting to play with kind of the last half of your fingers. You don't want your knuckles to be hitting the bongo drums. One, it can actually injure the nerves in your hands, and it hurts like crazy. So really, you're striking the drums really with the top half of your fingers. And the open tone is simply if you just strike the drum and release quickly. It's not a flick. That's something else, but just that's your open tone. And whether you play with however many fingers, it's really up to you. But typically, if you're playing the martillo or other rhythms, you're often playing with just one or two fingers. In that example, I was using just one finger to strike the macho and multiple fingers to strike the hembra. So it's really up to you and your own personal preference, but that's what you're going to see other bongo serials use. They use one or two fingers on the macho, and or more depending on what sound they're looking for. If you want to learn more techniques for striking the bongos, check out this video here where I go over all of them, especially the ones that are covered in the martillo rhythm. Finally, we're ready to get started playing the bongo drums. Now, a simple rhythm that is the foundation for a lot of different rhythms on the bongo drums, believe it or not, are just straight eighth notes. Now, you might think I'm oversimplifying, but believe it or not, yeah, the martillo and other famous rhythms are all based off of just straight eighth notes with a lot of different variants. So just if you are able to play a steady rhythm of straight eighth notes, you'll be able to play a lot of different styles of music. All right, that's boring. So let's add a little bit more to this rhythm. So what we can do is add a little bit of a lilt to those eighth notes. So instead of, it will sound like we're a little bit lazy and go like this. It kind of is the feel of a shuffle, or you might imagine a horse galloping, at least I do. That's good, that's kind of the feel for this particular rhythm. All right, and then on 4, we're going to hit the hembra, so it'll be. And then if you change to what notes you're accenting, you can even make this simple rhythm much more interesting. There you have it. You've learned your first rhythm on the bongos. And the great thing about bongo drums is that once you learn a basic rhythm, you can embellish, you can learn to expand it. Be careful if you're doing that, if you're playing with other people, but if you're practicing on your own, you can really explore just simple rhythms and make them much more interesting. Now that you've learned your first rhythm, the next question that you may have is, what's next? I really recommend buying a book. One book I really recommend actually is Trevor Salloum's The Bongo Book. It talks a lot about different Latin percussion rhythms, especially the martillo, which if you hear the rhythm martillo, that's often associated with the bongos, and that's because it's so prominent in different Latin music. But that book will really help you if you're wanting to grow your skills and get a foundation of the different rhythms, and also to refine your technique. So I'm on a quest to learn about different instruments, and so this year I am practicing a different instrument every month for an hour a day for the entire year. And if you want to join me in that journey and learn about different instruments and getting started stuff like this, then hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell so that you can be notified of any updates. Thanks for watching.